biology students. What's going on? Today we are going to take a quick look at the neuron model. That's what we got right here. In fact, this is the neuron model, and there's several things we can see here. Whole bunch of stuff we can see as a matter of fact. Let's see. If we were to sort of draw a circle around this entire region right here, bear with me here, there we go, that entire encircled region, that is the cell body of the neuron. That is the cell body, better known as the soma. So better known as the soma, that is the cell body. Now what else do we see? We see a nucleus right there. There's a nucleus. And we also see in a couple different spots, so like we see it right here, we see it right here, we see it right here. That thing, that grayish structure with all the little red dots right there, that is the nissl body or nissl substance. And basically, that is the rough endoplasmic reticulum for the neuron. So we got our basic cell body or soma, and we've got a couple constituents of it. Now, by the way, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but I'll mention it now. The neuron we're looking at here, this guy right here, this whole neuron here, this whole neuron is a multipolar or a motor neuron. So there's two ways we can classify this guy. Structurally speaking, this neuron is multipolar because it has an axon and many dendrites. Now, functionally speaking, this is a motor neuron. So there's two ways we can classify this guy. All right, that being said, let's keep on going. Let's figure out a few more things. Now, if we look down here, this extension, this process right here, that is the axon. Oops, that's the axon right there. All right? So that is our axon. Dun, dun, dun. Now, the axon has a beginning portion. The axon has a beginning portion. The beginning portion of the axon, which I'm basically going to make a circle on, that beginning portion right there, it is part of the axon, so its first name is axon, and that is the axon hillock. That is where action potentials start. And then we know action potentials travel down the axon all the way to the axon terminal, where they cause the release of neurotransmitters. All right, so we can see the axon, we can see its beginning, which is the axon hillock. Now, what else can we see that belongs to this neuron here? Couple more things, in fact. We can see these other extensions. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. These other extensions, these of course are the dendrites. These are going to receive signals, receive information from other neurons. Now earlier I said this was a multipolar neuron. Many, so it has a lot of processes coming out of it. One axon and many dendrites. Now you may be wondering what these other things are, these kind of darker looking things. Well, those guys, and let's put some arrows on them. This guy, come on arrows, there we go. This guy right here, this dude, this one, that one, and that one. Those are all telodendria. So those are telodendria of other neurons. So remember, an axon branches at its ends, and those branches are called telodendria. So we're seeing telodendria of other neurons. But that's not all. That's not all. What we can also see is the ends of the telodendria on some of these guys at this angle here. The ends of the telodendria, man, I wish that stayed purple up there. Doesn't matter. The ends of the telodendria are going to be called the axon terminals. And they're going to house the neurotransmitters and release the neurotransmitters when an action potential arrives. All right, cool. We are done with this part here. Let's go on to the next part. Okay, what I want to start with here is the fact that we still see the axon. We still see the axon. There it is. That is the axon right there. In fact, the main part of the axon that we can see is its plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is called the axolemma. Lemma means covering, so it's the covering of the axon. Now, obviously, there's more stuff covering this axon. In fact, I'm going to see some cells. I have a cell. I'm going to put a kind of a circle around a cell right here. This yellowish whitish guy right here, he is a cell. He is a Schwann cell. The Schwann cell has this wrapping of his membrane, and you can see how the membrane just wraps around multiple times. And this many wrappings of the membrane creates the myelin sheath. So we see the Schwann cell, and we see how that wraps around the axon, creating the myelin sheath. Now we also see something else. The very outer surface of the Schwann cell, put that arrow in a different place, there we go. The very outer surface of the Schwann cell is known as the neurolemma, kind of like the covering of the neuron. Okay, there's more. There's always more. Always more. I happen to see another Schwann cell right here. So I have two Schwann cells right next to each other. Now, in between the two Schwann cells, there is going to be an unmyelinated gap. And that unmyelinated gap is called the node of Ranvier. And that is where action potentials regenerate themselves as they travel down this axon. By the way, check out, of course, the nucleus of the Schwann cell. We can see that too. And then we can see one more thing. We can see the connective tissue around the Schwann cells. That connective tissue around the Schwann cells is going to be called the endoneurium. Now, it is loose connective tissue, basically like areolar connective tissue. And what it is going to do, it is going to bind one axon to its neighbor and to its other neighbor. And that way we can eventually create bundles of axons. One thing you gotta know is that a bundle of axons can either be a nerve. A nerve is a bundle of axons in the PNS, the peripheral nervous system. And then a tract. A tract is a bundle of axons in the CNS. And one way we create those bundles is by having having the endoneurium, the loose connective tissue around the Schwann cells, attaching to each other. All right, good stuff. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.